you went from Pentagon to private markets, right? But I'm guessing the goal of the job is still like looking at the future of national security. So a lot of the skills are probably transferable. Experience is extremely useful. What's something that's different that you learned being in private market that you probably didn't know before?
Well, I came to an investment firm that really is the firm with the leaders, Henry Kravis and George Robertson, and originally Jerry Kohlberg as well, who actually established the private equity industry as we know it now. But we now do far, far more than that. And we've grown from about 83 billion to nearly 700 billion in the time I've been at KKR. We have nearly 200 billion in private credit. We have nearly 200 billion in assets under management in an insurance company that we now own completely because we can manage their capital so much better than they could. And it was
Yeah.
proven over years. We're in real estate, energy infrastructure, real assets. We do growth tech. We do, you name it, we are now in it. So it's much, much more than just private equity. Well, the challenge is that, especially over the 12-year period that I've been at KKR, geopolitics has returned with a vengeance. And so I was brought in to establish and chair the KKR Global Institute, the first and most important task of which is to identify geopolitical risks and ensure that we can mitigate them sufficiently that they will not prevent a successful outcome. And in the event that they might prevent a successful outcome, to raise our hand and say we should not do this deal, which we've done about 6 times or so. That's a big deal because the deal
Mhm.
team typically has spent a lot of time, money, energy, effort in doing diligence on this company. And then we say, no, you shouldn't do that deal. And we have done that. Beyond that, what's actually happened is that we have shown quite a facility for helping companies solve problems once we've actually made our investments in them. And we typically own about 130 companies at any given time. We have minority interest in another 130. And sometimes of the ones we own, they have another 120 companies of their own. For example, Axel Springer, the big media conglomerate, still headquartered in Berlin, but increasingly active in the US. When they have challenges, they can come to us if their deal team hasn't been able to resolve it, or the country team or the regional headquarters or what have you. And this has happened about 60 or so times over the past 12 years. And because of the relationships that my team members and I have with leaders around the world, again, if you commanded coalitions, one of which had 35 or 40 countries, the other had over 60, that's where we invest, those countries typically. And there still is a relationship that exists. We work this hard. I travel to over 25 countries or so every given year, some of them many more than one time. I've been in London, I think 6 times alone already this year. So that has been another very important task. And then we spend a lot of time with our major investors talking about the world in which we're all trying to invest successfully together, which has transformed so much from what could be described again back in 2013 as a world of benign globalization in which all the barriers to trade, investment, capital flows, even people and technology were being reduced. And globalization was going like this as measured by global trade, to a world where globalization has become globalization, regionalization. It's a renewed great power rivalry world. And geopolitics is back with a vengeance, and all those barriers that were being reduced are now going up, some of them at a very considerable rate. And when you look at the tariffs in the previous administration, now the ones that are threatened by President Trump and are being established, and so on. But it's much more than that. It's restrictions on what we can sell to the number 2 economy in the world. It's restrictions on how they can invest with us, where we can invest, and so forth. So it's a much trickier geopolitical landscape, vastly more so. And therefore, geopolitical risk has become much more prominent in the diligence process. So when you ask, what am I doing? It's actually really what I did as a director of the CIA, but instead of reporting to the national security team, I'm reporting to the investment committee or the firm's leaders, and then to those companies that we own when they need assistance. And so that's not that dissimilar from what I did actually in uniform at the very high level positions, say the 3, 4-star commands, or as director of the CIA. And I've always had an academic bent. You know, I did a PhD at Princeton in a combination of international relations and economics when I was an Army captain. I taught both those subjects at West Point. I've had 5 or more academic appointments since then. Right now, I'm a Kissinger Fellow at Yale, and I lead a graduate seminar in the spring semester on great power competition. And then I'm on some of our boards. I don't do any more of those. I'll be strategic advisor now. There's 3 of those. Invested in over 30 startups personally. On the speaking circuit, had the book, which thanks, it was a New York Times bestseller, and was great fun, and donated all of my proceeds to veterans organizations. In any event, it's a very, very intellectually stimulating existence. And if it wasn't, frankly, I just wouldn't be doing it anymore. I mean, I'm at a point in life where most of my West Point classmates, are not traveling to 25 different countries a year, many of them more than once, shall we say.
Yeah, I can't imagine traveling to 25 countries a year, even at my age. That sounds tiring.
It
But
is, but we work it hard. We know how to be efficient, productive, and all the rest of that. So, and we've got a tremendous team.
and I don't know if you can share this. Is there like a common regions where you rejected the 6 deals?
Um, no, not necessarily. It tended to be in regions where we do see more geopolitical risk than in some of the other countries. But frankly, there's geopolitical risk in, again, first world countries as well. And actually, there have been problems in first world countries, some of which were really surprising, where you could not get resolution to something that we thought was very obvious. When a country actually changes the offtake agreement for the electricity produced by a solar plant that we bought with the idea that there would be this offtake agreement, and that was the thesis of the deal, and it's changed. That seems a bit unfair, and it was, but we couldn't get that resolved actually in the country itself. We finally got it resolved by going to the National Security Advisor, whom I knew from the past, and who agreed that that just wasn't right, and personally went to the leader of that country and got that an exception made.